Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Mid-Year Impact Report webinar. Many of you receive our yearly impact report in January, and we thought this would be a good time to give you an update on the challenges and successes you've helped us overcome in the first half of 2025. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kane, and I am the Senior Director of Client Services here at St. Vincent de Paul, Madison. Joining me on today's webinar will be Yoshio Leeper, one of our food pantry coordinators, Katy Polich, our social services director, and finally, Karla Sandoval-Ruiz, our bilingual client services assistant. Each of these devoted staff members have really stepped up to the challenge to continually adapt to best meet our neighbors' needs. I'm going to get things started today with the answer to a question we get asked a lot, which is, where does your food come from? The answer to that, the great majority of food we purchase from Second Harvest Food Bank of Southern Wisconsin, which we usually refer to as Second Harvest, though we do use other wholesalers as well. There are thousands of pounds of fresh produce grown at the Lacey Garden in Fitchburg, carefully tended by St. Vincent de Paul volunteers during our Wisconsin growing season. And we get smaller percentages of our food from a federal program called TFAP, through food drives and food gleaned from grocery stores, such as Trader Joe's, Metcalf's, and local metro markets. Right now, we have about 6,000 to 8,000 pounds of food going home with families every day we are open. And in general, a successful food drive we may see a few times a year will net about 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of food. So, needless to say, we purchase a lot of food. So, anyone that has been volunteering with us or following our monthly updates, you're probably well aware of the large increase in food pantry usage going back to the beginning of 2022. Financially, we have been able to keep up with that rising demand in large part due to your continued support and because of federal funds released during the pandemic that Dane County made available to Second Harvest to support local food pantries. That federal funding ended at the close of 2024. Additional joint advocacy efforts to get funding added to the 2025 Dane County budget were unsuccessful. This has come at a time when our food pantry budget has more than tripled over the last 3 years. As a matter of fact, it's actually almost quadrupled since the fiscal year 2021-22 budget cycle. What we are left with is this divergence of sorts, with the need for food growing and outside funding sources shrinking or disappearing altogether. So our challenge is to find creative ways to bridge that gap and to make sure we can provide what people need food-wise. One of the creative ways we're working to bridge that gap of dollars and need has been to collaborate with other food pantries in the area. This summer, a handful of large pantries have gotten together to figure out how we can put Thanksgiving on the table for thousands of our neighbors. The last few years, Second Harvest used some of that pandemic funding to purchase turkeys for Dane County pantries. And as I mentioned earlier, that money is gone. And not only is the funding gone, we were also notified a couple of months ago that Second Harvest would not source turkeys, turkey breasts, ham, or any other meat for Thanksgiving this year, and that it would be up to each individual food pantry. Collectively, we were able to find one single vendor who could source all of the meat we each needed at a price point better than we could have negotiated individually. And we had fun working with our local food pantry colleagues, and really it was just a win all around. Now I would like to introduce you to Yoshio Leeper. Yoshio has been a food pantry coordinator with us for the last 2 years, and today he is going to walk us through our new pantry software that we began using in January. Yoshio?
Hello, my name is Yoshio. I'm a food pantry coordinator at the St. Vinny's Food Pantry. Back in January, on the first pantry day of 2025, we launched a new client registration system using barcoded cards for all pantry clients. It was a slow-going upstream paddle on day one. And as the line of cars in the street became dangerously long, we almost pulled the plug. The launch of this new system was accepting a step backwards under the promise of a big leap forward down the line. We survived the launch, and now, after 6 months of the new system, we are seeing the dividends. Our goal in implementing the Bob software, affectionately named after local software developer Bob Breyer, who generously donated the program, was to leverage better data to improve both quality and speed of client service. Quality and speed. I'm happy to report that both of these goals are being met. First, more robust data helps us have better conversations with families during check-in to tailor service. We can now ask questions like, I see here that you marked your family as pescatarian. Can we bring you a fish bag instead of a meat bag? Or, last time you mentioned you don't have a kitchen. Can we bring out more extra ready-to-eat foods today? Let me give a more specific example to illustrate. One of our clients is a gentleman who regularly drives up to the pantry in a van full of kids. We found out through his new registration form that he is a single dad with 8 children. The next time he visited the pantry, I pulled up his account and, equipped with this information on the screen, I asked if he would like 2 cards so that he can receive 2 sets of food for his large family. He gladly accepted, and as we chatted, I also learned that many of his children come from foster homes. He is now able to receive 2 sets of food each visit without having to ask. Our new system makes it easier to initiate these conversations so we can improve the quality of service. The second goal of the Bob software is to improve speed of service. Since our launch back in January, we have registered and issued cards to over 5,000 of our neighbors. Over 80% of families who now use our pantry on any given day will have these cards. And with one of these cards in hand, check-in is as quick as a scan of a barcode. We check in clients, load the food into the cars, and clear the line of cars in the street faster than ever. There's dignity in food choice, of course, and there is also dignity in fast service. And we are glad to offer the latter for busy families with little time to spare. Many thanks to any of you out there who have been part of the Bob rollout. This has been a creative, adaptive, and collaborative effort, from passing out registration forms out on the street back in the January cold to churning out shopping carts of food inside the building to keep up with the faster pace outside. Let me highlight one part of the Bob launch that we are particularly proud of, our here it is again, our DIY pantry cards. Instead of outsourcing these cards to a professional service, we ordered blank, generic plastic cards, this one right here, from Amazon, designed and printed our own labels, each with a unique barcode. I'm holding that upside down. Boop. And then asked for volunteer help to stick these labels onto thousands of cards. DIYing these cards has been a fun, innovative team project that will save thousands of dollars over time, thereby maximizing the impact of generous donations from you. The speed of check-in and customization of service will only continue to improve as more families register and receive new cards. We are proud to have a culture of adaptation, and we are thankful for everyone who has helped to build this system. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yoshio. Yoshio put in a lot of time and effort into this project, working closely with Bob Breyer to get this system implemented here at the food pantry. Next up is Katy Polich. Katy has been with us for the last 15 months in the role of Social Services Director, overseeing our Seton program and microlending program. She is going to talk to us about the local housing landscape for our unhoused neighbors transitioning into permanent housing and give us a peek inside our wonderful new office space on Williamson Street. Katy?
Hi, I'm Katy Polich, Social Services Director with St. Vincent de Paul in Dane County. I'd like to talk with you today about our Seton program, housed in our beautiful new social services suite at 1301 Williamson Street. The Seton program has been around for decades. Historically, it was a transitional housing program for single mothers with several units in the Williamson Marquette neighborhood, along with our Port St. Vincent, which served men. In the last 2 decades, the homeless services community has embraced a new practice model called Housing First. This approach is unequivocally considered to be the best practice by social workers and unhoused providers alike. It prioritizes placing families into permanent housing as quickly as possible while providing them with case management and other support in that new environment. It treats housing as a basic human right, not something that people must earn, and it emphasizes dignity. Once housed, folks can focus on accessing supports that help promote recovery and growth and overall stability. There are numerous studies demonstrating that overall housing stability and retention, especially in the first year, is significantly increased with the Housing First model, and it is notably more cost-effective for the community. Dane County has fully embraced the Housing First approach, and it really engaged about 10 years ago as local shelters, nonprofits, and the county government shifted their strategies strategically together. The coordinated entry system in Dane County was utilized to funnel emergency shelter clients through one single track, which was a change. As this unfolded, transitional housing programs were either converted to permanent supported housing or replaced by rapid rehousing models. HUD, Housing and Urban Development, at this time they deprioritized transitional housing funding, and without that federal funding, the county shifted resources to Housing First options. Several years ago, St. Vincent de Paul began reassessing our own transitional housing, deciding to follow suit with other similar programs that were being repurposed. Within the past 2 to 3 years, the Seton program has been actively moving long-term clients into permanent housing situations. This has been a challenging process. These folks are essentially considered housed by the coordinated entry system as they live in our properties, and so they haven't moved up that priority list to receive an apartment. Some of them got stuck. I'm happy to say that as of this month, all of these Seton residents, the old long-term ones, have found new appropriate housing. This adaptation that St. Vincent de Paul went through has really aligned our services with that of the rest of the community. We are now able to provide flexible long-term support, both financially as needed with barrier relief funds for things like rent assistance, and through social work case management services. This is to single adult households with at least one child who have had a recent episode of homelessness and are now in permanent housing. The Seton program is attempting to fill in gaps in the community for those not accessing those case management programs from the Road Home, the YWCA, or the Salvation Army, which are our primary homeless services providers. We receive referrals from the school district, community providers, and our own volunteers during home visits for furniture vouchers. Since the start of 2025, the Seton program has served 12 adults and 21 children. We meet face-to-face with these neighbors, often in their homes or the community, varying from once weekly, or sometimes more, to once monthly, depending upon their current needs. We support the neighbors in creating a set of goals that become the blueprint for our work together. Common themes are paying rent consistently, increasing income, identifying childcare, problem-solving transportation, accessing mental health services, stabilizing chronic physical health issues, engaging in addiction treatment, and expanding their formal and informal support systems. We often meet with these families and our microlending applicants in this peaceful room that I'm sitting in now at the new Social Services Suite with a great view of Willie Street. This new space really offers so much dignity to our neighbors with its beauty and the great care taken to put it together. Folks get to walk into the building with an impressive entry and find an amazing mural created by an employee at our Verona store. It depicts the history of St. Vincent de Paul through the decades and brings lots of life and color to the space. We also have a robust kids room available to occupy and enrich little ones during individual family meetings and larger group events. Our impressive community room is equipped with flexible, movable furniture and all of the technology needed to complete hybrid meetings or events. St. Vincent de Paul is hatching new partnerships with other community organizations to use this room for educational sessions for our neighbors and other community members around topics like finances, vehicle ownership, and mental health. We also have begun to cultivate community within our Seton program for the very first time. We've brought together single parents and their children in this room to support one another and have some fun.
Thank you, Katy. Katy has been such a tremendous addition to our team here. With her wealth of knowledge she has accumulated over the years as a social worker here in the Madison community. Our final guest today will be Karla Sandoval-Ruiz, our bilingual client services assistant. Karla is going to give us some insight into how we are helping our Spanish-speaking and other neighbors through community outreach events, our microlending program, and home visits from the Divine Mercy St. Vincent de Paul Conference. Take it away, Carlita.
Hey, I'm Karla Sandoval-Ruiz, and I work as a bilingual social services assistant for St. Vincent de Paul in Madison. I want to talk to you about how we are helping the Latino community with in-person tabling with our services, and also our microlending program and the home visits that we do throughout the year. About tabling, it allows us to break down barriers and meet people where they are, especially those who may never call for help. It builds trust through face-to-face connection, helps us reach underserved neighbors who may not know what services are available, and allows us to provide real-time support. Unlike phone calls, tabling creates a visible, approachable presence in the community, strengthening our relationships and expanding access to vital services. We participate in a lot of table events throughout the year. One of those almost every month is the Just Staying Reentry Fair. Um, it does help people that have been in prison and are looking for different resources in the community. We've started to develop a strong rapport with them, putting face-to-face to same business services. About our micro lending program, it's another way your compassion is at work to help neighbors as through the microloans. We offer small dollar loans to help people with debt consolidation. Loans range from $400 up to $2,500 with low interest rates between 4 to 8% and flexible repayment plans over 2 years. The loans are offered through Bank of San Prairie and Lake Ridge Bank. Borrowers also receive financial education and support. Microloans are an alternative to pay for a high-interest loan. They're meant to prevent the use on and pay off these types of loans, which cause immediate and long-term harm to borrowers. Many people using our microloans have existing loans with 37% or higher interest. They either want to consolidate loans or lower their payments. Also, microloans have been particularly helpful for our Latino neighbors. Many Latino community members don't use traditional loan services because they may not have credit history, don't trust banks, or don't feel comfortable with the language. Some don't understand how loans work, or they're afraid of going into debt. Others may be denied loans or offer unfair terms. Immigration status can also make it hard to qualify. All of this makes many families avoid loans, even when they need the help. It's been great being involved with the microloan process because we're helping neighbors financially one step at a time. About our connection with the conferences. So speaking of Latino community members, many of you may be familiar with our volunteers conference, La Conferencia Divina Misericordia, who generously gives their own time to visit people in need, offering support, comfort, and care right where they are at home. Their presence shows compassion and action, bringing hope and connection to those who need it the most. A grand majority of Latinos in the U.S. are Catholic. Having Catholic visitors speak your native language during a home visit brings comfort, trust, and peace. It helps people feel less alone, more understood, and more connected to their faith and community, especially in difficult times. People are most likely to accept support, whether spiritual, emotional, or material, where they feel understood and respected. It feels like being visited by family, not strangers. We actually have 18 volunteer groups like Divina Misericordia. If you'd like to learn more about becoming a member at one of these conferences, you can visit our website. Speaking someone's native language shows respect and reduces feelings of isolation, fear, and intimidation, especially during these difficult times. Neighbors are more likely to use services when they feel seen and understood. Exposure to diverse communities through language enhances cultural sensitivity and responsiveness amongst all staff. And for volunteers, it boosts confidence and inclusion. Volunteers see firsthand the impact of language access. So this is the good on providing Spanish-speaking services to neighbors, staff, and volunteers.
Thank you, Karla. In the many years I've been with St. Vincent de Paul, Madison, listening to Karla speak to our neighbors in their native language and the dignity that that gives folks and the commitment our organization has given to that has just been one of my favorite things. I believe we can now have time for a couple of questions before we call it quits. There's a couple of things. Something in the news recently has been the state budget, including $10 million in funding for food purchasing. I just want to touch on that for a second. So unlike the pandemic funding, which was specifically for Dane County food pantries and was in the $5 to $10 million range, this is statewide and should also be noted that it's biennial. So this is a 2-year budget. So we're talking about $10 million spread out across 2 years for the entire state. So what impact that will have on any individual food pantry is, I wouldn't say minimal. I don't want to minimize the whole thing, but it isn't the solution to our problems, put it that way. And as of right now, we don't know how it's going to shake out. What we do know is there will be some kind of competitive grant process. We don't know if that will be just through food banks or if it'll be every individual food pantry will be applying for those grants. So we won't know that until probably the coming weeks and maybe months. The other elephant in the room, I would say, are the federal cuts to many social service programs. SNAP, if you are familiar with SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, what used to be known as food stamps, and in Wisconsin we call food share. There have been the biggest thing about SNAP is that the new administration has reinstated a lot of work requirements for SNAP recipients. It's raising the top age of people that need to make work requirements from 54 to 64. And we found that last time there were work requirements set for SNAP recipients that many people did fall off of SNAP. So we can probably expect that. That is something that most likely is not going to take place for a little over a year yet. Best projections are October of 26 for when those changes will take place. We know that they're adjusting also some of the administrative costs from the federal government to the state government. So Wisconsin will take on a 25% greater share of SNAP costs with that change. So that's not great for the state budget as well. So those are, and Medicaid also will be a huge thing. We've all been kind of worried about the Medicaid cuts. We don't have a lot of details on that yet. So, but what we can anticipate is when those changes go into effect, that our pharmacy, which serves uninsured folks, will see an increase in the number of patients as well. So see if we can find anything else here. There was a question about affordable housing and systemic change, and hopefully Katy's presentation addressed some of what we are doing regarding keeping people housed through our Seton program. if you are up to date in kind of the Madison in general housing landscape, we know that we actually cannot keep up with the number of people that need housing in general. Like the city of Madison has seen a greater increase in the number of people moving here than we actually can create and build housing. So it's what has led to higher rent here, you know, lower lower vacancy, and so that has been a problem that has been going on in Madison for a long time, and is really, you know, just a really, really difficult problem that we face in this community. What things are needed the most? We're going to assume this is referring to the food pantry, and really, we are purchasing so much food right now that really any type of food is great. Money is always great, and generally we have greater purchasing power through a food bank and wholesalers than folks do going to a grocery store and purchasing food for food drives. So keep that in mind, but we always welcome food drives as well, or any individual donations. So I think we should probably wrap things up for today. I wanted to send a big thank you out there to everyone, whether you are a volunteer, you're a St. Vincent de Paul member, you're a donor, maybe you're all three. You make all of this possible. And if you are none of the above and anything that you have heard or seen today inspires you to become involved, please check out the ways you can do so on our website. Once again, our theme today was adapting to change, and we will be taking that another step further with our Adapting to a Changing World Centennial fundraiser event on Wednesday, September 17th. So watch your inboxes for that, as registration will start, I believe, a week from Friday on August 1st. So thanks again to everyone for joining us today. Take care.